Hi there, it's Lorraine again. Hope you've had a nice week. I'm here to talk to you today about the stress container. Do you remember we talked a little bit about that last week? Let me show you the picture. Here we are. And if you remember, we talked about how we have one of these stress containers inside us all the time. It's a bit invisible, obviously, but and how we can only take so many worries and difficulties and problems without that bucket overflowing and without us exploding or, getting really anxious and just bursting into tears or getting angry. Yeah, do you remember this? Okay, well, this time we are going to talk about how we can stop that container overflowing and stopping things getting too much for us. Okay, so here's what we do. First of all, can we stop the worry getting into that container in the first place? Can we reduce the amount of worries? Now then, let me think. So, yes, sometimes we can do that. It always depends on what the problem is as to whether we can control it like that. But for some things, we can reduce them. So, for example, I don't know about you, but I'm a bit of a monkey for taking too much on and doing a bit too much. And I know what you guys can be like as well. So maybe before lockdown, always so busy with things like football practice, dance practice, and clubs, and parties, and goodness knows what else, play dates, everything. So, actually, sometimes you just need a night off, don't you? You just need a night just to chill. Sometimes it all just gets too much. So, just keeping an eye on how much is going in that stress container is a good idea. Okay, so now you can look at that and you can look at all those things that go into that container, and sometimes you want to reduce them, but sometimes actually you don't want to reduce some of them because some of them they're needed and they have to be done. So for example, perhaps maybe if you're in year 6 you're thinking about going to high school. Okay, so now this is going to be a good thing, and you're going to be learning all sorts of new things and maybe meeting some new people, and it will be a good experience, but you're still worried about it. So perhaps what you can do is maybe change the way you think about it. And sometimes you can do this by finding out some more information about it. Sometimes we build things in our heads and we imagine this awful big thing in our head when actually the problem's maybe not this big, it's maybe more this big. So if you have information evenings or parents' evenings or open evenings where you actually get to go and find out a little bit more about it, then suddenly you go, oh, maybe it's not that bad. So maybe I can reduce that problem down. So there's less going into the container. Maybe by finding out more about it, you might even find that it's actually an opportunity and not a big scary thing to worry about. Now, often it's a really, really good idea to talk to people about this, somebody trusted and a trusted adult that can really help you decide whether, is this something I need to worry about? They might be able to give you more information, they might be able to reassure you, or they might be able to do something about this problem that's going into your container. But it's a good place to start. Okay, so we've talked about reducing what's going into the container, talked a little bit about changing the way we see what's going into the container, so the problem's not quite as big and so your bucket's not getting quite as full. The other thing we can do is make the container bigger. Now, I do wish I could wave a magic wand or just send you down to the supermarket to buy a bigger bucket. Now, that would be great. Sadly, it doesn't work like that. let me explain a little bit about what that means. So when I say get a bigger bucket, what I mean is, you know, that invisible bucket you have inside yourself, can you make it bigger so you're able to manage those worries and difficulties better? You might be able to just cope with them that little bit better. Now, this is something called resilience. And this is a massive subject, and I could talk all day about resilience, but I'm not going to, you'll be pleased to hear. I'll save that one for another time. Okay, so, and the last thing is we can reduce the build-up and the worries by having a bit of an outlet. Do you remember turning the tap? Turning the tap on your stress bucket. You can turn the tap and let some of those worries out a little bit. And it's a bit like this. I've got a bottle of pop here. So if you imagine all the worries and things that's going on in your life starts building up, doesn't it? And it starts shaking you up like this. And what happens? The more and more that keep added, it starts building up, doesn't it? Now what would happen if I open that now? Yep, it'd go everywhere. I'm not going to do that because I really don't want to clean up the mess. But what we can do instead of it just going, what we can do is just start opening it a little bit. And then that just lets a little bit of that air out gradually and steadily and a little bit every day rather than one great big. Okay, now this is when you are going to go into your groups. And I'll hold the bucket up again. Now I want you to talk about the different things that we can do to let off that steam, that air, and let the bucket empty out a little bit so you can cope a bit better. Now in your groups you can talk about the different things you can do. I'm going to come this side now. Now here there are the different types of things that you can do. So first of all, number one is what active things do you do to help you let off that steam? So it might be that you go and run around at break time. It might be that you kick a football about. It might be that you like to dance around your living room. I like doing a Zumba class. That's my thing. But that's okay. You have to make it work for you. So what is the active thing that you like to do? Maybe you like to swing on a swing. Maybe, you just like to go for a run or whatever it is that works for you. The second thing is, what do you do to relax? Maybe you like to do a bit of colouring in or a bit of craft. Maybe you like to go and play with a bit of Lego. Maybe you like to go on your PlayStation for a bit or your Xbox. Whatever it is that works for you. Maybe you like to relax or maybe even listen to some relaxing music. There are so many things you can do, and we'll be learning a lot more about those over the weeks. But you've probably found some things that you do already, and you naturally do them when you go home and you have a bad day. What do you do? And lastly, I've got here someone to talk to or to spend a bit of time with. So it might be that you go home and give someone in your family a big hug. Or it might be that you go and give your dog a cuddle. Or it might be that, you ring a friend and have a bit of a giggle. Whatever it is that you do to let off that steam again. Okay, right, so I am going to leave you with that. Perhaps that's something you can either do on your own or you can talk to friends at a table. Okay, take care and I will see you next week.